I'm Adam Richmond, and this is Surviving Rocklahoma. I am joined by TD from White Collar Sideshow. What is up, buddy?
How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing well, man. I've got to say, you are one of my favorite discoveries this season of Rocklahoma. I absolutely love y'all's sound. I've been checking you guys out for the last 2 hours on YouTube, and
Thanks, man.
really looking up all of your music and everything. So tell me a little bit about the White Collar Sideshow. That's a unique name in itself. Where does that come from?
Man, we got that from a band. There's a metal band. I guess I would say they're a metal band from back in the day, a Texas band called Embodiment.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the lyrics in one of their songs was White Collar Sideshow. And I just, back in the day, I was like, man, that would be a great band name. So we, of course, when, internet 2007, 6, 2005, back in that era, we Googled White Collar Sideshow and there was no results. So we went ahead and bought the domain and bought the name and never knew it was going to turn into like our life,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where the name comes from. We have been a band for 14 years.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that. We've been on the road for 12 years. We have toured in places like Brazil, Chile, New Zealand, Germany, Poland, all over the U.S. And like, we're a do-it-yourself band. We've been independent for a long, long time. And this last year, we joined forces with Curtain Call Records with this last album that we just did. And it's been, well, to quote Jerry Garcia, what a long, strange trip it's been. Like,
Right.
We never knew this would become our life, our lifestyle, living, breathing it. We love art, man. I mean, we do things differently. When we first started, there was 3 of us, and then my son was part of the band. So he was, I think, around 10 or 11. We were 2 drummers and a bass. My wife played bass in a 9-foot go-go cage wearing a creepy mask. Our drummer dressed up like a crazy redneck pig. And then my son would wear a gas mask, and all the characters were very, like, everything meant something symbolic, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And when we actually started too, we started in the Christian music world. So
Wow.
we had this crazy show. It was dark, like Rob Zombie, White Zombie is one of my biggest influences, Nine Inch Nails. So I came from that Ozfest era into this Christian world of, I'm putting these crazy, creepy shows together, but it was all about life. It was about addiction. It was about struggle. All the characters, symbolic part of my story was a part of our show. And then we always do film in our backdrops. So every album is a different concept album. So I'm a big Pink Floyd fan, big Doors fan.
Right.
And a lot of those, like, early, here's visuals with everything that you're doing. Here's more texture, I guess. And if you've been to a Rob Zombie show, which I just saw him last year too, you walk away like, wow, that is just inspiring and awe of, this is how you put a performance together. This is something where it's entertainment. And of course the songs are great, but you walk away with your mouth open. You walk away like, I got to see that again. And so that's kind of where I have been with trying to put performances together, especially, we're not a giant band. So, we live off people's love. We don't even charge for performances. We don't charge guarantees. We don't charge contracts. So we are hippies in that sense of it, living off people's love. We raise funds to put the movies together, to put the videos together, to put the albums together. And we have a producer that really believes in us. His name's Chris Baseford, and he's worked with Rob Zombie. He's done about three or four, if I'm not mistaken, John 5 solo albums.
Yeah.
His probably biggest band is Nickelback, that he works with Avril Lavigne, Seal Green, a lot of different artists, and we're kind of the dogs under the table that he gets to not be a part of the machine, but gets to be creative and gets to put music together that he has fun as well. And so it's been this crazy life of super highs, super lows, ups and downs, this roller coaster of life. Like, one night you're playing for 2 people, next night you're playing for 500 people, one night you're playing for the sound guy, next night you could be playing at a festival for 10,000. So you never know what you're going to get. And so for us, it's about sharing stories. Our films are stories to connect with the audience, to just try to help other people realize, like, you're not alone on the planet. So we're kind of in this heavy metal world. We're a darker band, but at the same time, we try to put a twist on the end of our films that brings some form of light to the table. Like, you're not alone. Like, we can do this together. We can share our stories to help people realize, like, we can go further in life. We can, and how heavy and dark the heavy metal world can be, where it's a lot of anger, a lot of hate, a lot of frustration. And not that we're trying to tip the scales. We're just trying to add to. Here's a little salt and pepper for something as old as I'm getting in this music business. Here's something of substance that might help someone realize they're not alone on the planet.
That is so awesome. And you allude to you guys being a small, basically a family band. Now, you and Veronica's married, right?
Yeah, we've been married for 19 years now.
19 years. So you primarily play the drums and you're the vocals, and she's also the bass and vocals. And so
that's right.
That is insane. Does that make things a bit unique as a traveling band and trying to write music and collaborate? I mean, me and my wife, we can't even get on the same page for the household chores. I can't imagine putting out an album and tours and shows and everything.
Yeah, I think the dynamic is for us. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I know a lot of people that are like, I couldn't spend 24 hours a day with my wife, but man, we literally are best friends. My son is 22. And so he's, we got married when he was 3, and I've done numerous bands, in my life in this. And again, when we both started White Collar Sideshow, she was managing a giant music company. I was working a storefront for that music company. And we just decided, we would come home, look at each other and be like, man, we're zombies. Like, what is life? Like, we're not adding anything to this. We're just coming home, watching TV, and not doing anything to change the world. So I was writing these shows, and she was like, you know what? And this is literally what she told me, because we are believers. She said, I feel like God told me to jump, and I feel like I'm going to leave my job. We'll get rid of everything we own and figure out how to take these dreams on the road and try to help other people realize they're not alone. And we had no clue of what that looked like. It took us a couple years to get debt free. Right. It took us a couple years to sell a house. We had a 4-bedroom house, 3 cars. I had a 66 Austin Healey, and, with 30,000 miles on it. I mean, the American dream, what a lot of people would say. Even sometimes our family members would be like, you have everything. What are you doing? You're throwing your life away. And, sometimes part of life is becoming the change that you want to see on the planet. And to do that, you have to live it and breathe it. And as many struggles and as many times as I fell apart on this journey, that's part of it too, is learning from your mistakes and trying to regrow, regroup, get back up and help someone else that's falling down too do the same thing, and be a cheerleader and encourager for somebody. And with my wife doing that, she's probably been my biggest hero in this, as far as she has picked me up many times and helped me get through a lot. And that being said, she's also our manager, our tour manager, our booking agent. She does all of our marketing, our merchandising. She cooks in the RV. She doesn't do drums, and she doesn't drive. And the woman is literally, I did an earlier interview today. She's literally the hardest working person that I know for us, and in a musical world where our show is so different and unique that a lot of people don't know what to do with us, which makes it hard. So so she's up 24 hours a day trying to, for all the no's that we get, trying to find that yes.
That is so inspiring. That is crazy. I was watching all of your videos, and I've got to say, first impressions is totally different from what I would have expected after watching your videos. Because I watched a couple of your videos, Tombstone for Eyes, and also your video that's also shares the same title as your current album. I didn't come here to die. And there's a lot of attitude in it, and it's very epic. I mean, every video is almost like a mini motion picture, and then you're so down to earth. How does that contrast come about for you?
Man, I think what's interesting, I guess, in all of this is every album that we do is a concept album. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we won't play songs off other albums. It's like we toured that album for 5 or 6 years, 7 years. Now it's time for something fresh and new. So especially like while I'm on the road, we just have these crazy ideas. Mm-hmm. Our last album that we just did, The Witch Hunt, we did that in 2012 with Chris from LA. And that whole album was based on the 7 deadly sins. So when you watch the film, each song is a different deadly sin. Also, it was when my brother was killed while I was on the road. He was 27, just got his master's degree. I mean, just a big tragedy. And I wrote every song as an emotion that I was going through, struggling with a tragedy, which is what millions of people go through. So a lot of the songs are very transparent. They're very deep. A lot of people would say they're very dark, but ultimately it's just feelings. It's what we're going through as human beings. And sometimes you feel like you're the only one that's struggling, but it was basically a biography of here's what I'm throwing up in my brain. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to throw it out there. I had already written the film ideas. So the music going to the film was just an added puzzle piece, almost like the good Lord was saying, hey, man, here you go. So it's been, writing concepts is definitely challenging. For I Didn't Come Here to Die, I wanted that title is an old Western title. Mm-hmm. Like I wanted to do an old Western. So I wanted the film to be an old Western. Obviously, like I said before, there's hardly any money in the music business. Right. We live off people's love. We don't charge for shows. We raise funds to put our albums together. And, there's people out there that just really get what we're doing and want to see us keep going. And I'm super appreciative of the people in our life that are like that and that we meet on the road. So we had raised enough funds to do the recording in a film, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's $1 million budget, right? We don't have that kind of funds. I mean, that's a low budget movie, or that's an even really low budget movie in Hollywood standards. And we didn't even have any of close to that. So I'm telling my film guy, who's at 5 Star Productions here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. That's who we film with. His name's Travis Joyner. Mm-hmm. And Mike Hart owns 5 Star, really just gets what we're doing and just let us film everything in there we used, instead of having to rent an old Western town, the wagons, the actors, the catering, the hotels, try to get actors there, because all of our actors are volunteers or people who like our music. So we always try to use people who are interested in just coming down and being a part of it. And so we were like, okay, well, we don't have the budget to do anything like that. So our film guy's like, look, why don't we've got this big white room. Let's paint everything green. We'll bring vehicles in instead of horses. We'll use motorcycles. We'll make this Mad Max thing, and we'll keep the concept the same, but we'll just do it in a green screen Sin City kind of way. And neither one of us was like, is this going to work? Like, is this going to be cool? Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be just exceptional. And not really to give away the live show, but I'm a big Tarantino, Twilight Zone. I like kind of the things that, if you watch a Twilight Zone episode, it very much hits you today. Right. Like everything they were writing about then, it's like, wow, did they write that yesterday? Mm-hmm. The political thought process, the storylines, it's just like, wow, this is genius. And so I wanted to write something, and I try to do this with all of our films, where you come and see a performance, but you walk away thinking like, man, that made me think about life in general. It made me think about where's my direction? What am I doing here? Maybe it inspires someone to dream big with only $5 in the back of their pocket. And I mean, that's what I do when I go to a zombie show. I'm like, dude, how do you do that with $5 in the back of your pocket?
Right.
You know, it causes you to be creative and do excellent things with just what you have. And so it's definitely challenging, but to come up with the concept with this one, I've really had written out kind of a synopsis. And so my wife, of course, being the manager that she is, she also produced this whole film that goes with everything, which you will see live as long as it's dark outside. We haven't done a show in the daytime with this one yet, so I'm hoping that doesn't have to happen. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that would be like or if it would be cool, but there's a film that plays behind us like Pink Floyd The Wall that just explains this whole show and everything that's going along with it. It's a full-on
experience then.
Yeah. My wife produced it, organized it, got all the actors there, the catering there. You know, we don't have the funds to pay for a block, like a month of time. So we're having to work on our film guy, Travis's time that he has his days off, and he even has to get away from his family to do it, you know. So it took us about 2 years to film everything, to edit everything. And I'm just so grateful to Travis and Travis Joyner and Mike Hart for just really, man, giving us a trampoline to bounce off of. And, you know, we just did a tour. We just got back from a 30-day tour last year. It was 30 shows, 17 states, 7,000 miles. And it was a grind. It was 3 shifts.
All on grassroots funding.
Grassroots, wow. Yeah. That's how we roll, man. That's why we live in an RV.
That is awesome. So you talk a lot about producing the movie. So which comes first? I mean, the chicken or the egg? Are you writing a movie or are you writing a song? Which, or is it hand in hand as they come about?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like when those ideas flow, like the film idea, I'll be like, man, I've got this. I'm writing this. Like I've got something in my mind, even for another album, which I can't even imagine trying to put together another album. We have, you know, nothing in a bank account to try to put something that big. And how do you do bigger and better than what you just did?
Right.
But, you know, when it comes time, it always comes through. Like I can only thank the good Lord. Like I have so much more faith on the road than I ever had. Even when I first became a believer back when I was 25, just living the way that we live. I mean, it's just miraculous. It is just a miraculous life of survival and surviving. So when I get these ideas, a lot of it is my own personal struggles, and I'll write those struggles into a story.
Okay.
Especially with this last album, it's like an old Western. I added so many country style instruments into our industrial kind of shock and roll sound, is what we call it, shock and roll. And which is a different twist than what we've done. But none of our albums ever sound the same because it's, you know, all of your influences change as you get older. Part of my influence in this musical genre was Hank the Third.
Right.
Hank 3 is, man, I just love how he mixes all these different things. His styles, you know, you go to a show, it's outlaw country, it's doom metal, it's psychobilly. I'm a huge Willie, Waylon, Hank, Johnny, you know, outlaw country guy. I also am still living in the 90s with my Rob Zombies and Nine Inch Nails,
right.
You know, Korn, Rage Against the Machines, and don't really know much about modern.
That's kind of what I was thinking when I was listening to your music, as I was like, I felt a lot of a rebel soul, but you got an industrial ear. And so,
yeah,
I really, really like that. And I've got to ask as well. Now you're mentioning your influences being more on the outlaw side, but whenever I listen, your flow with your lyrics almost comes across as a little hip hopish. Like almost have, like, I mean, there's rebel soul and then there's soul, and you got some soul when you bust out that flow. I didn't mean to rhyme, but I'm going to accept that.
Oh man,
where does that come from?
I know. So I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. And of course, you know, in that area, man, I had some buddies, you know, when you're young in the 80s, like Public Enemy, Beastie Boys. You know, you had Eazy-E, NWA. You had a lot of different things that were super popular then. And I feel like even for me, like listening to old rap, like Day to Day with Fame,
right?
Like LL Cool J. You know, there's a lot of. So I kind of had. Not that I listen to a lot of that anymore. I still, you know, it'll come up on playlists or whatever. But I feel like, well, Run DMC. I mean, you know, when I was growing up as a kid, like all these things are popular. I loved Prince. I love Michael Jackson. I mean, there's so much different influence in what we're doing that, you know, I feel like it's almost like your roots. Sure. And so I wrote a lot of these songs, especially the music, while I was in Brazil. And I got to thinking, like, man, especially with this album, you know, people are trying to put everything in a box. You know, they're trying to put you in metal, hardcore, whatever, rap, pop, you know, Christian even. They're trying to put you in these boxes. And I got to thinking, like, man, who am I? Like, what's my identity in this? I love all these different styles. You know, a lot of times I'm listening to Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra, like Cab Calloway. Like, there's so much that I listen to. Why can't I mix certain things? Why can't I mix even, you know, if you listen to American Psycho, it kind of has this punk, you know. I remember DRI. I remember, you know, Black Flag and Misfits and all, you know, there's a lot of things that I don't listen to a lot of anymore.
That was TD Benton from White Collar Sideshow. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, my software lost about the final 5 minutes of the interview where we talked a little bit what networks to find them on, their website and all of that stuff. So if you would like to experience all that is the White Collar Sideshow, be sure you check them out on Facebook under the same name, White Collar Sideshow. Check out their YouTube channel and all of the other streaming media services. Also, you can check them out live at Rocklahoma at Camp Zombies Digging Graves Productions underground stage. And they will be playing that Memorial Day weekend at Rocklahoma. You can get your tickets for Rocklahoma at the rocklahoma.com website, and then come on out to the campgrounds, and that's where you'll find the underground stage in Fox Hollow. Also, be sure to follow me right here on the YouTube channel, Surviving Rocklahoma. Click that subscribe button, click that little bell, and you can also check me out on Facebook, Surviving Rocklahoma, also all of the major podcast networks. But for TD, I'm Adam Richmond. As always, rock on.